Hello, hello! My name is Callista and welcome back to Pentiment. In the last episode, we were just given the Historia Tassii. I am so shocked at that. So shocked. I was completely sure that Martin was innocent of that theft. I was so thoroughly convinced that Martin had been falsely accused and that the thread puller was the one who had the book. But no, Martin did take it. Brigitte has had it all of this time and she's just given it to us. Like, I genuinely thought we were going to have to go on this huge quest to get the book, but no, we were just handed it. I'm quite shocked at that. Now, speaking of Martin. Morning, Magdalene. How's Klaus? Enduring. Even when his speech is slurred, he keeps a cheerful heart. I don't know what life would be like without him. Klaus is a good man, Magdalene. Tassing is a better place thanks to him. He's one of the few in Tassing who hasn't been on my back all this time. What do you mean? Don't pretend like you haven't heard. Townsfolk have whispered shit about me for years. Oh, he's become bitter. So obviously this isn't the real Martin, this is Jobst. This is Jobst. And he came here for a better life. But Martin had such a shit reputation that it's followed him. And even though he's been a good man, like he was a top bloke in Act 2. He was a top bloke in Act 2. But despite all of that, Martin's reputation persists and he's become old and bitter because it isn't his reputation. He's not Martin. People are having a go at him for stuff that he never did and he's become bitter. And maybe that's why he's such a shit dad to Craft. Ooh. Ooh. Don't pretend like you haven't heard. Townsfolk have whispered shit about me for years. Also, he is a drunk. We know that. We know that he gets aggressive when he gets a drink in him. So what if I occasionally get into a few brawls? I'm an honest man. I wasn't involved with what happened to Otto Zimmerman. I supported his cause. I've pulled my weight around here, tilled the soil, salted the meat, provided for Brigitte and Craft. Don't even get me started on Agnes. What about Agnes? Always nagging at me, saying I'm a disappointment compared to Lucky. I wasn't even here when he died. Maybe that's the issue. You weren't here when you were needed. Say nothing. Again, I think Magdalene... Personally, I'm like, he's venting. He's venting. Say nothing. But I think Magdalene is like, I have thoughts and opinions and I'm gonna fucking state them. Maybe that's the issue. You weren't here when you were needed. He didn't even know these people. That... I can see why he'd be bitter. I can see why he'd be pissed. This wasn't his crime. He didn't even know Martin. He didn't know Martin at the time. This literally isn't his fault, but people don't know that. And unless you're going to come out and say you've been committing identity theft this whole time, your son is technically illegitimate because you're not really married to Brigitte. Like... Unless you're going to come out and say that, you just need to deal with this. Maybe that's the issue. You weren't here when you were needed. Can't change the past, can I? I was just a dumb kid. I couldn't have helped Lucky in any way. Agnes is a bitter crone who should leave me be. I've done enough backbreaking work for this family. Can't a man just have a goddamned rest? Why are you always getting into fights anyway? Brigitte supports you in all of this, doesn't she? I believe you, Martin. You seem like you could use a respite. Oh. I want to know more about your marriage. Brigitte supports you in all of this, doesn't she? Dickhead. Dickhead. Oh. I was rooting for you in Act 2. I was rooting for you. It's not. Okay. I'm not going to scream. I am calm. I am chill. A wife's duty... A wife's duty doesn't mean putting up with every dumb shit idea that her husband does. Like, that's not what a wife's duty is. A wife's duty isn't my husband is being a dick. I've got to support him no matter what. Like, no. What you're asking for there is unconditional love. And on a personal level, I do not believe in unconditional love. If you want unconditional love, get a dog. Get a dog. Dogs will love you unconditionally. I will not. Like, if you... Maybe I don't understand love. Maybe I don't understand friendship. Because I also don't unconditionally love my friends. Like, if I have a friend and they do something to where I'm like, that's fucked up. I'm not talking like something small. Like, oh, you cut someone off while you were driving. No, that's nothing. I'm talking like... Kallista, I need to tell you something. I killed a man. Because I didn't like the fact that he was homeless. Like, he did nothing to me. I just really fucking hate homeless people. Said this mysterious person. Kallista, my friend, who I am talking to, because I am not you. This is not Kallista speaking before anyone clips this. You know, like, if I have a friend who really hates homeless people, and on the weekend, let's get rid of the murder aspect. On the weekends, they like to go and beat up homeless people because they believe that homeless people should not exist. I'm not gonna go, well, I love you unconditionally, so even though I disapprove of this action, I support you no matter what. No, fuck that! That's awful! That's horrific! Why are you beating on the homeless? Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? I'm not gonna interact with you because that's fucked up. That's fucked up. My love is highly conditional. My love, whether that be romantic or platonic, has plenty of conditions. Don't be a shithead. Don't beat up people because you don't like the fact that they're homeless, or because they're a different race from you, a different religion, they're a different sexuality, gender identity. Like, don't be beating on people. Don't be killing. Don't be raping. Don't be doing don't touch kids. Like, just none of that. If I discover a friend or a loved one is doing that, I'm not having anything to do with them. It's not my duty to bear their shittiness. Fuck that noise. Fuck that noise. If I was married to someone and discovered, oh shit, they're touching kids, I'm divorcing their ass and I'm giving all that evidence to the police. Fuck that. No. Absolutely not. It is not a wife's duty to bear the burden of her husband's shittiness. Fuck that noise. If you want something that will, do its duty, it's going to love you no matter what. If you want unconditional love, get a fucking dog. Get a dog. They are the only creatures that will love you unconditionally. Fuck this. Fuck this noise. That's a wife's duty. Take note, Magdalene. Oh, your wife is the big gay. Oh, I think back to, again, Act 2, at the bonfire, where Martin was talking about, like, oh, I'd like to taste some of my wife's sweet honey. And she was kind of like, Martin, what the fuck? I think this guy thought he was coming back to... I think he had some misconceptions about Martin's life. He thought... Let's be honest, did Martin even realise that Brigitte was gay? Let's be honest here. Pardon me. Excuse me, let me take a sip. 1 second. Ah, delicious Pepsi Max. Beautiful. Okay. Yeah, did the real Martin even realise that Brigitte was gay? Did he? Because, like, he barely spent any time with her. I doubt he did. So I bet this guy thought, like, oh, you know, he's got a wife that loves him, he's got a loving man, you know, I can come in, play the prodigal son, but here's the thing. People have long memories. People have long memories, especially mothers-in-laws. They really have long memories, and she's gonna remember, like, here's all the shittiness that you've done. So he could never redeem himself in the eyes of the town. He's trying to be, oh yeah, me and my loving wife, and his wife's like, I married you because in this time period I had to marry someone. Excuse me whilst I go and be with my lover, the person that I actually want to be with, but can't, due to the time period. Like, in so many ways, I feel badly for this guy. But also I don't, because of the whole, like, oh, it's a wife's duty to support her man no matter what. Fuck that noise. We get along, though she often spends more time with Veronica than me. They've been good friends since childhood, yes. Everyone needs a close friend, as I'm fortunate to have in Esther. Yeah, I don't think... Unless I am reading Magda wrong, which I could be, unless you are also gay with Esther. But then Esther talked about, like, oh, I've met a doctor. I'm gonna marry him. So yeah, I think you're misreading the signs here, Magda. They've been good friends since childhood, yes? Yeah, good to have friends. Right, I've lost enough time to this as it is. Time for you to go. Until later, Martin. Oh, yeah, he thought he was going to play the prodigal son and everyone was just going to forgive him. And here's the thing, the only people who did were Brigitte and Kat. The only people who did were Brigitte and Kat because they needed him. No one else needed Martin. No one else needed him. So their opinions were like, oh yeah, it's... Here's the thing, it's not good that he came back. That was what he should do. He abandoned his family and then you came back. You don't... It's like parents who are like, oh, I feed my child. I clothe my child. Like, yeah, you don't get head pats for doing the bare fucking minimum. You had the kid. You feed him. You clothe him. That's what you should do. You don't get to be proud that you're doing what you should be doing. And I think that's the thing. No one was like, oh, Martin, oh, how good of you to come back to the family that you abandoned. It's like, yeah, that's what you should have done. You shouldn't have abandoned them in the first place. The fuck is wrong with you? Oh, damn. You son of a bitch. Hey, Mags. Hey, Craft. Grumble, grumble, why you like this grumble, grumble. Now then, hello, you two. I want to... Tell me they have stuff to say. God bless you, Magdalene. I want a proper conversation. Yes! Oh, God bless you, Magdalene. Hello, Matilda. Hello, Wojslav. How are you two? Very well. The Lord has blessed us more than we deserve. And how are you, Magdalene? I was worried with you keeping the house and the workshop all on your own. Let me bring by some soup for you and your father. Oh, Matilda, she's a good lady. You're very kind, Matilda, thank you. Dad would love that. I've hardly had a moment to cook a hot meal. I wouldn't want to impose. You're very kind, Matilda, thank you. Not at all, Magdalene. This is how Wojslav and I serve Tassing. Our vocation may have changed, but our gratitude to God and the town has not. You've always been so dedicated to the town. It's hard to imagine you two ever lived in the abbey. Yeah, I think, again, Magdalene was so young when these two were, you know, a nun and a monk respectively. Like, I'm not sure if she'd remember that. It's hard to imagine you two ever lived in the abbey. Sometimes those days feel like another lifetime. A harder time, to be sure. Life feels pretty hard now. I thought the abbey was better off than the town in those years. Were the Benedictines anything like the Poor Clares? No, they were not. I thought the abbey was better off than the town in those years. So we were told, but in private, I believe Father Gano struggled to provide for a scriptorium and a double monastery. However, seeing both the town and Kiersau struggle was only a part of what made that time hard. A nun's life can be a challenging one, but I never had to deal with the difficulties you do now, Magdalene. What about your old life was difficult for you? I struggled with my vows, my discipline. I couldn't live as my sisters did. I broke my vows, as did Wojslav. They were fucking. You fell in love. Aww. I love that, Magdalene. Oh, you fell in love. Me, they were fucking. Let's go with Magda's take. They fell in love. You fell in love. We did. Well, I seduced her. You certainly did not. Are you telling young Magda here that you seduced me then? Wojslav, please. So you left the abbey. Though no one learned of what we did, the matter ate at my heart. That and being falsely accused of murdering the old Baron terrified you, and rightly so. We all must account for our sins, Magdalene. I was afraid I would account for mine sooner than I thought. Those were the hardest years of my life. I repented and prayed to God to absolve me. The Lord? Yes. But the Lord always provides, even in the darkest days. The Abbey's destruction gave us a second chance. I can't imagine that the townsfolk were too happy to let you stay. It must be strange to leave that life after so long. That must have been incredibly difficult. I mean, that is a thought. What did the townsfolk think? It's not like either of these were higher ups, and these were two of the people that frequently came into town because they both looked after their respective cellars. So they came into town frequently together. Ooh, I think if any of the monks and nuns had to settle, I think they'd be happiest with these two, but I am intrigued to hear their reactions. I can't imagine that the townsfolk were too happy to let you stay. There was some suspicion at first, yes, but we proved useful in the days following, and soon they came round. The Lord forgives more readily than man, Magdalene. Never think that you must remain in a place that causes you to sin, even if others think it godly. I'm glad you two are finally able to live life together. You both deserve it. I never realised you two went through so much to be together. I'm glad you two are finally able to live life together. You both deserve it. Only by the grace of God are we in this life together. May it be many more years before we part. God willing. Anyway, Magdalene, I'll send? There we go. I'll send that soup over to you shortly. Thank you, Matilda. God bless you both. Thank you, Matilda. God bless you, Magda. God bless. Oh, I love these two. I love these two so much. I just, they're happy. They're happy and thriving, and yes, it's wonderful. You know what? Let's just head... Oh! Yes! He's watching his son draw. He's such a good dad. He's such a good dad. Good morning, Magdalene. How's the mural coming along? Well, I think. I'm off to start the first part of the mural today. I'll paint the founding of Tassing and the Romans. Well, you won't want for any models. Tassing is jittered with Roman... Littered, there we go. I was like, that doesn't make any sense. Tassing is littered with Roman ruins. It's almost a nuisance. What sort of mural are you creating, Magdalene? I believe Klaus was planning on a fresco. Well, I'll start with the Internatio and then paint the fresco over it so that I have a clear consistency. There are a few techniques, but I think a fresco suits the rat house wall best. Why? Is the council planning to interfere with how I mix my paints? No, he just wants to know what's happening. Well, I'll start with the Internatio and then paint the fresco over it so that I have a clear consistency. Ah, I see. Do you have enough plaster? The rat house wall is so large, I was worried it wouldn't stay wet for long. Since when did the town miller know so much about art? Because he loves art. It's been an interest of mine since childhood, but my father disapproved. After my mother and I left Tassing, we stayed with her family for a few months before we heard what happened. So they did leave Tassing. I assume they just ran into the village and then, like, came back. No, they left for a few months, okay. Aha! We did encourage him to draw. Your friend's father. No, your father's friend! There we go. Your father's friend, Andreas. He encouraged me to draw. While we were away, I studied in my uncle's library. I've collected books about various art styles since we returned. I had no idea, Paul. Why didn't you want to paint the mural yourself? I can't imagine what I would have done if Dad didn't let me learn how to print and paint. That sounds like it was a difficult time to live through. I had no idea, Paul. Why didn't you want to paint the mural yourself? I'm not nearly as skilled as you or your father. I know I had my doubts about you taking on the project, Magdalene, but you're the most skilled artist in Tassing. I think little Andreas might give us a run for our money. Look at him. Look at him go, bless. I'm sorry, it just makes me so happy that Paul is encouraging his kid. I love Paul. I love him so much. After your father, of course. Well, anyway, I'm glad the mural is going well. Forgive my sudden questioning about it. I've been so busy preparing for the council's next meeting, I haven't had as much time with Anna as usual. She says I get a bit frantic when I'm overwhelmed. Is the council working on something new? I didn't think council work was all that serious in such a small town. Maybe you should take some time off from the council, Paul. Is the council working on something new? We're considering yearly maintenance checks on every house in Tassing. The ideas had quite a bit more pushback than we'd anticipated. New ideas always face some kind of opposition. I don't think you should let that stop you. I can understand the utility of the proposition, but it might feel like a nuisance. I can't imagine why. I'd certainly love it if my neighbours nosed their way into my house every year. I mean, I understand this. I understand this. You're going to have people come in and check in on your house. But I mean, if it's just once a year. If it's just once a year and everyone's having it. I mean, my thought is that, like, okay, it might save you money in the long run. Like, you do the checks and it's like, oh, we've noticed this thing, let's get it sorted now. Whereas, You know, if you, the homeowner, you might not notice. If it's something small, if there's a tiny wee crack in the wall, you might not notice it until it's, like, huge and it's like, we've got to take down this whole wall. Whereas before it would have been like, oh, we just plaster it. Just a bit of plaster and that's, like, shored it all up and, you know, you're fine. Like, I get this, but personally I think it might save you money in the long run. New ideas always face some kind of opposition. I don't think you should let that stop you. Thank you, Magdalene. I understand the hesitation. Folk like to look after their own homes, their own land. But this would help protect those in Tassing who don't have the skill to fix things themselves. Widows like Agnes or Gret. In any case, the matter is far from resolved. I imagine spring will come before anything is actually done. I had better get back to work. Thank you for letting me interrupt your day, Magdalene. God bless you. Until later, Paul. Yeah, I think you'll find we interrupted you. Magdalene! Hello, little Andreas. I'm gonna pet the puppy. Hello, yes. Who's a good puppy? You're a good puppy. Yes, you are. Oh. We can't go down to the ruins themselves. We can't go down, and I find that so interesting. Magdalene, can I help you with something? I came to see how you're doing. Not really, unless you can tell me about the early history of Tassing. I mean, she looks kind of sad now. I came to see how you're doing. Well enough, even if I don't know why you care. Because you're a nice lady. Because Paul is my friend, as are you. The people in this town have to stick together. It's only Christian to care for our fellows and help carry each other's burdens. Yeah, I mean, we like Paul. Paul is kind. He has always been respectful to us. And we were told before that apparently Elsa's been asking Magdalene for suggestions for the reading for the reading circle. Yeah, I think Magdalene would like this lady. Because Paul is my friend, as are you. Dear Paul, he's grown into a good man. I almost failed him, just like I failed my poor dead. No! I thought you were going to talk about the child you miscarried, not Lendhart. He was a bitch. You didn't fail him. He was an asshole. Lendhart. Lendhart? I've always heard he was an awful man. Say nothing. The revolt was caused by the lords, the church with their taxes. It was their fault. I don't think she's talking about his death. I think she's talking about the fact that he had so many affairs. She feels like she wasn't a good wife. Because, oh, if I had been a good wife, he wouldn't been out having an affairs and raping people. He wouldn't have done all that. She's probably grappling with the idea of, like, he was a good man, which he wasn't. We know he wasn't. But in her mind, he was a good man, and I made him into a bad man by being a bad wife. Why do I think that's what she's talking about here? I want that clarification. The revolt was caused by the lords. The church with their taxes, it was their fault. I see you've been listening to your dad. He means well, but he thinks himself higher than his position. He doesn't know the way of the land, of the lords, of the church. They do what they have to. We all get what we deserve. I never should have escaped the mill. No! No! What are you saying? That's an awful thing to say. What are you saying? What kind of life is this? A sad and tired shell of a woman. forever alone, carrying the weight of death. Leave me be, please. Oh, God, I thought she was happy. I thought she was happy with the reading circle, but no, it's... Oh, God, I feel so badly for her. I feel so badly for her. God bless you, Magdalene, and little Ulrika. Hello, Mag. It's fine. She's a child. She can't pronounce her full name. Like, it's fine. Oh, else. It seems like... I'm wondering if the reason why Else is so sad is because of something we did. That's what I'm wondering. I'm wondering if there was something that we could have done to make her happy. And I just... My heart. My heart. Now then, in the next episode, we'll see if Ursula has anything to say. But until then, please remember to like if you enjoyed, leave a comment below, and if you wanted to subscribe, it would be very much appreciated. I've been Callista. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next episode.